Gary, cold open question of the week.
Yes, sir.
Would you rather know all the world's languages or speak with animals?
Oh, man. Probably all the world's languages. Other than wherever you went, you were able to. Really, I don't really want to speak to animals, I guess. I don't know. No, I think I'd rather know all the languages. That'd be fun.
I think I'd rather be able to speak all the languages as well. Unless, of course, you're like being attacked by a bear or something. Then it might be able to, be profitable to be able to negotiate with them or something.
Yeah, but
all right. Well, let's get the show started. Tonight on the Brian Lennon Show, it's the one about Wild Trout Man with Dr. Joseph Simons. All right, so welcome into another episode of the Brian Lennon Show. And Dr. Simons, I'm going to throw that question to you, the Wild Trout Man. Would you rather know all the world's languages or speak with animals?
Speak with animals is where I would like to be. That would be absolutely fascinating. To speak with a gray whale or with a chimpanzee, and then the parrot, the African gray parrot. I'm there. With my cat or dog too as well.
That's true too. Yeah,
that would fascinate me. More than speaking all the languages, because we know how humans interact for the most part, no matter what your language. But we don't know an octopus. I would like to communicate with an octopus. Right there, plum.
Yeah, that's interesting if you think about, what we could probably learn from other animals, animal groups, families, societies, and kind of call that information from them.
Absolutely. The animal world, the animal kingdom is much more intelligent than we give it credit for, without a doubt.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, good point there. All right, well, I want to welcome in our guest. It is Dr. Joseph Simons III, and he is really a true Renaissance man. Doc, I'm going to read a little bit of your biography here. So Wild Trout Man is Dr. Joseph Simons III. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Wilkes University and a Doctor of Optometry degree from Salus University. He's an avid outdoorsman who loves fly fishing, camping, kayaking, hiking, scuba diving, nature photography, and he also writes electronic music and soundtracks under the name Hollow Mind. He's a conservationist and a champion of cold, clean water, the water that supports native brook trout, which is his holy water. Conserving his most precious commodity is a cause that he holds dear to his heart. He serves as president of Eastern Pennsylvania Coalition of Abandoned Mine Reclamation, vice president of Middle Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association, and treasurer of Stanley Cooper chapter Trout Unlimited. So, Dr. Simons, welcome in again to the Brian Lennon Show. Nice to have you on.
Thank you for the invite. Very, very nice. And well, I wish I had more time. Going through that list, I need some more free time to pursue all those interests.
Now, I've wanted to have you on the show because, again, you dabble in a little bit of everything, but over the last probably 3 years now, you've started a YouTube page called Wild Trout Man. And why don't you tell listeners kind of a little bit about what Wild Trout Man is and what you've been doing with that page?
Wild Trout Man is a page I started. It's a little over 2 years now that I started this, and it's my adventures out in the Pennsylvania and around the United States with pursuing native and wild trout, and just the incredible, beautiful environment where you find these fish. And one of my passions is photography and videography, and throwing the audio in there. And just once the GoPro system became waterproof uh, and easy to change screens and formats and record, and with image stabilization. It really opened up a world being out near water, which is can be very detrimental to any electronic gear. So I tried to do this previously with earlier versions of the GoPro system, but you had to have them in a waterproof housing, and it wasn't as it is now. Not that it's easy, but it's doable and very enjoyable.
And that's watching the videos, it's a professional level video, that people would be watching. And tell people a little bit about all the different spots, like you said, around the country so far that you've taken viewers with Wild Trout Man.
Well, my home state is Pennsylvania, so there's a lot of we have a gorgeous state. We have one of the most flowing water besides Alaska is supposedly Pennsylvania when it comes to streams. So we have a lot of water. If it hasn't been damaged by the coal mining industry, we're good to go, and it's got it has the possibility of having native and wild trout. In New York, my cousin, who we grew up fly fishing together, he lives in Colorado. As young kids, we were tying flies and having our fly rods on local streams. He's out in Colorado, so I have a connection out there. And I got a couple trips planned as well. My son Nico and I were going to head out to New Mexico for the San Juan River, and Utah was the Zion National Park, which I wasn't aware how many wild trout streams are in that area. So we have some those trips coming up, and a couple buddies invited me to Vermont and the Adirondacks later in the month. So yes, some nice trips in the making. My cousin invited me out to Colorado in July, so.
So you'll be busy
this year for some Wild Trout Man episodes in outside of Pennsylvania.
Now, how long does it take you to kind of edit and splice and put together, an episode?
Say that again, Brian.
How long does it take you to kind of edit and put together an episode of Wild Trout Man?
Oh, it's I have at least three cameras going, so it takes a while to edit footage. Sometimes you'll see other episodes from other fishermen will just be one running camera. I'm trying to incorporate all these different views of a chest mounted GoPro, and I have a handheld, and then I have one on a tripod. Sometimes I have my camera and my phone footage going as well, and the drone shots, and so it can take several weeks to actually finish, and finding the time to be able to do that as well when you want to be out on the stream also. So
right.
It's a fine line of putting that all together, and I really try to put together with some smooth editing and some of my music that I write as part of the opening and closing. So I try to do a complete package that's visually appealing and not just showing the fish being caught. It's the whole aspect of being out there, of what it takes, and the beauty of the environment that's what I'm so passionate about, and why I love these native and wild trout streams, because the environment where you find the fish, it is absolutely breathtaking. And if you don't catch a fish, or things aren't happening, it doesn't matter, because there's so much to see, so much beauty around every corner. Some people talk about fishing. Oh, fishing is boring. It's like, wow, when I'm out there, it is anything but. It's really it's quite the experience being out there on these streams.
Yeah, and I think you do a really good job capturing kind of the environment that you're in. Like you're saying, it's not just, video of you catching these fish. You're explaining the environment, you're explaining kind of the terrain and where you're located. There's, beautiful video of the surroundings. So kind of an all-encompassing experience when you watch Wild Trout Man.
That's what I'm trying to do, and I've had several people tell me that, you know, I feel like I'm there, and I feel like I'm a part of it, and that's what I'm trying to get across. That's what I'm trying to do, and when I hear that you know, all those hours of editing, it's like, okay, it was worth you know, making those edits, because it does take a while. I certainly put time into it to have a nice product.
Yeah, well, you can definitely tell, and you're definitely, you know, doing a good job with that. Now, I want to go a little bit into your background, like as far as how you got your start in fishing, and then maybe kind of specializing in the fly fishing, trout fishing area. Like, did you start? You mentioned you used to fish with your cousin.
Yes, my cousin Mark and I, we were little kids doing you know, tying flies and out in the backyard with our fly pole, practicing casting. My mom had a bird bath in the backyard. I was, you know, trying to land a fly in that bird bath. That was the you know, thing we were doing, and saving up our funds for buying fly tying material. So yeah, it was a started at a young age, and just very fortunate that my dad was involved in my life, and had a passion for the outdoors as well. He was a fisherman, not necessarily a trout fisherman to start. He liked his warm water. He was more of a bass fisherman, and walleye and muskie. He loved the Susquehanna River. But my brother and I, we enjoyed the trout streams. We enjoyed these smaller streams, and he would take us fishing on the weekends, and once a year we'd have after baseball season was over, we would do a trip out to the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon, out to that area of Pennsylvania, and that was just such a magical moment. So much to look forward to as a kid, to go camping in that pristine environment, Potter County, God's country, out at Slate Run, Cedar Run, Young Woman's Creek, Kettle Creek, Cross Fork Creek. Oh my gosh, those were so dear to my heart as a young boy. So I was really, really fortunate to have that influence at a young age, and it's been throughout my entire life. It's just so exciting. You know, I was just had a question the other day. You know, will you ever get tired of this? No, there would have to be some serious issues with me, you know, health wise, or you know, something going on where I wouldn't be just you know, not can't waiting to go out and just experience the whole encompassing beauty of nature, and you add these wild and native fish on top of that. It's a good moment.
And talk a little bit about kind of Northeast Pennsylvania, I guess, because it's kind of a unique area in the country. Like you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, as far as, like, you know, streaming water, and then our kind of region in Northeast PA. And you mentioned a little bit about fishing on the Susquehanna as opposed to fishing on some of the other streams, and maybe explain to people who aren't as familiar with, you know, fishing, the difference between, you know, fishing a river and fishing a stream, and maybe even fishing the ocean.
Okay, sure. The you know, Northeast Pennsylvania, we have some wonderful streams and rivers and lakes here in our area. It's it's a tough area for wild fish because of the pH is a big factor in our area. We don't have the geology that has alkalinity in the rock. So any you know, we have these coal burning power plants, which with this acid rain blowing east, which was a definite factor on these headwater streams. So it's a tough life for a brook trout, and we need to you know, these are waters we need to take care of, because it's between the pollution, the sedimentation, and the clear cutting of the forests that we've had back in the 1800s. They used to catch, a trout was brook trout, native brook trout. The limit was 50 a day at one time, back in the 1800s. Imagine catching that many now. How incredible the water was then. We have good streams now, but it's nothing like it was in the past. So taking care of the waters that we have is extremely important. And this part of the state, like I said, the alkalinity in the water. I'm always out there with my pH test kit, testing waters. We want a pH above 5, which is not the greatest, but that's where we're at, 5.5. Sometimes we get to 6, in streams here. Compared to the streams in the middle of the state, you have a bunch of limestone streams, which have a much sweeter water, a much pH closer to 7, and the life of a trout is a heck of a lot easier there. The water temperatures are more stable with cooler in the summer, warmer in the winter, so the trout are constantly feeding. Here, it's a rough life. You have the droughts in the summertime and the ice outs in the winter, and so just when you catch these fish, it's something special that these trout have endured for. It takes several years to mature for a native brook trout. What other did I know you had some other what was the other aspect of that question that you had there, Brian?
Kind of the difference of fishing the I guess creeks and streams versus like the Susquehanna River.
Well, the big difference is a trout needs cold water. So once water gets over 70 degrees, you try not to go fishing during those times because it becomes very stressful to the fish because of the amount of oxygen in the water. Whereas the Susquehanna River, it's a warm water fishery where you'll have bass and muskie and walleye. So it's something that totally different than the type of species that you're going after. The trout don't get as big as those fish. But again, for me, it's the environment where I'm finding these fish. It's not that the Susquehanna is gorgeous in itself, but it's just a bigger body of water, and I enjoy the more intimate surroundings. My boots in the water, not being in a boat, just walking from one stretch to the next. That's what I really enjoy about it.
Okay. Now, I did want to talk to you too about kind of the conservation side, which you've kind of touched on a little bit. Maybe explain to people the groups that you belong to, that like the Riverkeeper Association and the Stanley Cooper chapter, Trout Unlimited chapter, kind of what's the goal of those organizations, and kind of what role are they playing in conservation of the water in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, with all these groups, it's cold, clean water is what we're trying to instill. And water is life. What is the more precious natural resource? It is water. You can't live without it. And we have, over the years, these waterways have taken such a hit. These little streams that I fish, I call them the capillaries. It's the capillaries of our system. If we take them out, where do we go when it comes to pollution? Everything's flowing downstream. All these little streams go into the Susquehanna. The Susquehanna goes down to the Chesapeake, and the Chesapeake, it's just getting hammered with pollution. You got to realize how much more of this can the system take before things start breaking down. So it's very important to have cold, clean water. That's where these trout, that's where they live. The organizations I belong to, I'm the president of the EPCAMR, the Eastern Pennsylvania Coalition for Abandoned Mine Reclamation. And in this area, we have, there's a lot of water that has been tainted not in a good way when it comes to mine drainage. And the acid waters that come out of the mines, the heavy metals that come out. The first thing they take out is the food source for these fish, the macroinvertebrates. Once that's gone, the fish, they lose their food source. They can't tolerate those lower pHs and those metals in the water anyway. But you take out one thing, it takes everything out down the line. So yeah, EPCAMR is just what a wonderful organization. The directors, the board of directors, and the board itself there. What a knowledge of conservation from that group. It is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to conservation. So that's a fabulous group in our area that everyone should look into. Middle Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association. Oh, so yeah, the Susquehanna is Pennsylvania's river. The main branch, or the north branch of the Susquehanna, is the Pennsylvania River of the Year. So that's so the Middle Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association. They'll be having some events coming up with celebrating the branch of the Susquehanna in our area, the north branch. And we have a wonderful Riverkeeper. 11,000 square miles of drainage that we have from the Susquehanna River. So that's a huge area to cover, to educate, and to protect. And Trout Unlimited, that's very, very dear to my heart. Middle Susquehanna Riverkeeper, I'm the vice president there. The Trout Unlimited, I'm the treasurer with the Stanley Cooper chapter. Our 30th annual conservation banquet. So that was a big event, our big fundraising event. And we used those funds, our stream that we, our adopted stream is Bowman's Creek. And they previously had Mountain Spring Lake there. And the dam became unsafe. It was a dam made that, previously there were 2 dams there that were used as ice for the Wilkes-Barre area. They had a train system that went up through Knoxon, and it would bring ice down to the Wyoming Valley back in the 1800s. So that dam was there. The Fish Commission deemed it a possible hazard, so that dam was taken out, and you had this wide expanse of land there that just got baked in the summertime with water temperatures in excess of 80 degrees in the summertime. So we got the Luzerne Conservation District, and we got 2,000 trees to plant up there, and we put those in, and we funding for limestone. We have a limestone spread out at the different streams going into Bowman's Creek, as well up as Mountain Springs Lake, and just have done stream stabilization. And we have a grant for a limestone diversion well that we've been trying to get in on one of the tributaries there. One of my projects I did years ago was I went up with my pH kit, and I just, every tributary in Bowman's Creek, and was over 20 tributaries, I went in and tested the water of all these streams. And I found one stream that had a pH of 4. Sometimes, it's just nasty water going in. So that's one of our goals, is to try and get that stream, that tributary going into Bowman's with that very acidic water to try and remediate that problem of a pH problem on that stream. Yeah, so those are some of the organizations, 3 main organizations that I'm involved with. Luzerne Conservation District, we got a grant, and they came to me with putting together a video called "We Are All Apart." I don't know if you saw that video, but what it showcases is just this pristine mountain stream, how beautiful it is, the water, the environment, the wildlife that's there, and as it starts to flow downstream into the Susquehanna, down to the Chesapeake, and just the amount of pollution that these streams keep getting hammered with. And so it's a 3-minute short film just showing that transition from all this beautiful water, the greenery, the life, to the pollution, the plastic that is just outrageous everywhere. And down to the Conowingo Dam, the first dam on the river down in Maryland on the Susquehanna. Just the amount of debris and sediment and just it's a mess. And we need to do a better job with this, our most precious commodity, water.
Okay. Now, another question. I've never been fly fishing, and I'm not really much of a fisherman at all.
It's never too late.
I know. Well, my question for you is, if someone wanted to get into, fly fishing or, fishing for trout, what would you kind of suggest to them? Is there an organization like the Trout Unlimited that maybe has like an open house, or how would someone get involved with trout fishing?
Yes, well, our Trout Unlimited group, we have 3 special events. We have a youth camp that one of our board members has been doing for many years, and we have an adult camp, and we have a women's camp as well. So if anyone wants to contact me to get involved with these camps, they're free, and it teaches you all the aspects of fly fishing. The tying of the flies, the tying the knots in your line, the different lines you use, how to cast. That's one of the most critical elements is there could be a million fish there, but you have to know how to cast your fly line. And we go over all those different techniques and then get people out on the water, putting it all together. So that's a great introductory way to fly fishing through our Stanley Cooper Trout Unlimited group.
Okay. And I will have kind of your contact information. You have, this will be a good time to do this, I guess. You have a website, wildtroutman.com. Your YouTube page is Wild Trout Man. So it's the @ Wild Trout Man. You also have a Facebook page, Wild Trout Man, that people can find and reach out to you that way if they want to get in touch. And also look for that, if they're in Northeast Pennsylvania, the Stanley Cooper chapter Trout Unlimited as well.
Yes, Instagram too, Wild Trout Man, and the email address would be adventure@wildtroutman.com would be a way to contact me to get you involved in any of these groups or any of the events that we're doing, and with the fly fishing camps that we have coming up this summer.
Okay, when do those camps start?
I don't have the dates, but they'll be starting soon. The youth camp, we have openings in the youth camp. We are looking for several more boys or girls, up to, I think it's up to the age of 16 to come to that camp for free. They do need to be accompanied by a parent or a guardian for the children.
Okay.
And that's out at the Bowman's Creek roadside rest is where we have that particular camp, and then the other adult camps are at Francis Slocum.
Okay.
State Park.
All right. And then I also want to kind of highlight the Wild Trout Man YouTube page. You just kind of reached a milestone with subscribers.
Oh, I did. Yes, it was 1,000 subscribers. It was very, very cool. That was I was really happy to get to that milestone. That's a big milestone for it. And originally when I put this together, I said I would love to have 10,000 subscribers. How wonderful! But first you need to get to 1,000, and it gives credibility to your YouTube channel, to your page. When you're putting out a decent product when you have subscribers like that, and it seems they start to come easier once you get into that YouTube algorithm. That's a big thing to get into, to get your video out there. You could have the best production in the world, but YouTube has to like what you're doing as well.
Right. Yeah, no, that's definitely something to be proud of, 1,000 subscribers. Do you know how many downloads total you have, like with all of your videos? Do you have a number for that?
Say that again, Ryan.
Do you have a number of like total downloads that your videos have had on YouTube?
Oh, well, I could tell you in a second, actually. Well, just so right now, monthly. This month I had 8,000 views in this month, and let's see what it is for lifetime. 82,000 views, 82,003 views lifetime. You know,
Nice.
that's that's some nice action. That's yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely,
And the watch hours is the other. The watch hours is the other big. That's very important for YouTube as well. So yeah, 10,416 watch hours. You know, people have watched my videos that amount of hours. That's some nice numbers there.
yeah, that's nice. You're getting reach, and you're, reaching, people, which is cool.
Yeah, I've met some fascinating people, and my one trip out to Colorado was through one of the gentlemen that I met on YouTube to come out and fish his property out in Colorado on one of the tributaries of one of the streams out there. So yeah, really nice. Continuously meeting people, contacting me. Yeah, I'm enjoying that aspect of it.
That's cool. Now I have another question for you about, I guess there's classes of the rivers and streams. Like there's class A.
There are, and that all comes down to the quality of the water.
Okay.
The pH of that water, the how cold that water is, how much tree cover it has to keep that water cold, the amount of pollution entering into any of those streams. Those are all the factors that will degrade a stream and then degrade the what if it's a class A stream, and that has to do with the kilograms per hectare of fish in the stream. So they go out and electrofish these streams and categorize them by how many fish, how many pounds per mile of trout that they're finding in these streams. And the highest quality streams become these get labeled as a class A wild trout stream. And one thing to say about that, the brook trout, the only native trout to Pennsylvania is the brook trout. So we do have to take care of any streams that have the native brookies, because we have there's a lot of wild brown trout. Several of those streams, not many. But the brookies that are here, we need to take care of those particular streams. Make sure they, conservation-wise, we need to do our best when it comes to all the streams, but especially the native brook trout.
Okay. One other, aspect of kind of your interest is the music, and I know you've used some of your music for your videos as well. Maybe tell listeners a little bit about kind of what you do music-wise, what your interest is.
I'm passionate about music. I love music. I've been into the whole synthesizer scene for a long time. I once had a room full of so many different keyboards and synthesizers and modules. It was called The Room That Hums. It was just but that was years ago, and now you have all this access on your laptop computer, all these synthesizers that would take up this your room. You got these modules that are digitized on your computer. So I love getting in there and sequencing tracks and laying down like a film soundtrack type music. I haven't had much time to do that lately, but this music I've produced in the past, I do use that as my the soundtracks for my YouTube videos, and also some. I've been dabbling with guitar as well, some acoustic guitar, which goes rather nice with the whole environmental aspect of these songs. I love the whole synth sound and the the whole Tangerine Dream, and I just saw Rick Wakeman in concert from Yes, and that whole sound, but sometimes it may be a little much for for the listeners, and but it is one way to get people to hear my music, because I did start with the music on YouTube, and it didn't go as well or as quick as my fly fishing channel has gone. So they're getting some music thrown in there on the slide, and not realizing.
Whether they like it or not, they're going to listen.
There you go, and it's under the name Hollow Mind, where I have my music. It was the Third Millennium was an album I put out back in the '90s, and now it's under the name Hollow Mind, which you can find on Spotify as well.
Okay, I guess I should let listeners and watchers know, we know each other because we worked together. I was the store manager at a location where you're the doctor, the optometrist. So that's where we met each other through. And I can vouch, on your lunch hour, you would run down to one of the local spots here along the Lackawanna River, and you would take your fishing pole and your guitar. So I didn't know if you were
oh my gosh,
singing to the trout, or
there you go, and my camera. I'd have all three of those at certain times, and got some really interesting shots. Brian, one of the shots at the office that patients walk by and they talk about it all the time is I have this picture of a Cooper's hawk with its wings outstretched, and it's right on the Lackawanna River. And the story behind that was I was there during my lunch break. I had my guitar, my camera, and there's a mink on the other side of the shore, and I'm getting ready to take a shot of this mink, and this Cooper's hawk dive bombs the mink, and it landed on a tree, on a branch, and it just had its wings outstretched for like 2 or 3 minutes. It had its wings outstretched, just trying to intimidate that mink, or it was trying to have that mink for dinner, and the mink went flying into the Japanese knotweed, and so I had that shot of that Cooper's hawk. As soon as you walk out of the exam room, boom, there it is. It's a wonderful picture, and a wonderful. I think you might have been the manager of the store at that time when I did take that picture there.
Yeah, and that's another thing too on I think it's on the Wild Trout Man website. There's a lot of your photography as well.
Yeah. No, that's very nice, and I had a really interesting patient in today, just really admiring my photography and the different aspects of the pictures that he was picking up. It was like, wow, this is pretty cool, and he has a good eye, and he knows what he's talking about when it comes to. Remember that one dragonfly shot with the there's this close up of a dragonfly. That's just what a neat little picture, and the way it is on this leaf, it looks like it's ready for takeoff, and he's just making comments about that. So yeah, very, very, very nice.
All right, it's time for News of the Weird.
All right.
And now it's time for News of the Weird with your host, Gary McDaniel. All right, so we're going to go live to the Tampa Bay newsroom where we have Gary McDaniel. Gary, what's news?
Yes, all right. Mojave Max tortoise emerges in Vegas, latest since 2000. So a desert tortoise that is the focus of schoolchild predictions and local lore about the start of spring has emerged from its winter burrow at a nature preserve in Las Vegas. Mojave Max appears above ground with the burrow mate at 3:40 p.m. Monday at the Springs Preserve, marked the latest date since an annual watch contest began in 2000 for the critter, compared locally with Puxatawny Phil in Pennsylvania. Phil's handlers said February 2nd that their groundhog predicted their spring wouldn't arrive until April. In Las Vegas, where the threatened species reptilian winter rest is called brumation, the earliest a Mojave Max has emerged since 2000 was a little before noon on February 14, 2005. The latest had been April 17, 2012. 3 male tortoises have borne the moniker Mojave Max. Today's Max is marked with the radio transmitting device attached to his shell. The tortoise seen with Mojave Max on Monday does not have a name. Biologists at the Springs Preserve think this year's exceptionally cold winter that brought frequent rain and abundant snow to mountains in the west also kept the desert surface cool later into the spring. It's taken longer for the soil in the burrow to warm, Bradley said. Once it finally warmed up, Max came out. The desert tortoise is considered a keystone species and an indicator of a health of a fragile desert ecosystem. The habits and habitat of Mojave Max are studied by children at Clark County public and private schools, where officials say more than 4,200 students in grades K through 5 entered this year's contest to guess the day the tortoise would emerge. Officials said a winner of the 23rd annual contest will be announced soon.
All right, so they have a little kind of a West Coast Puxatawny Phil going on there.
Yeah.
Now, Doc, have you ever been out to Puxatawny for Groundhog Day?
I have not, but I've been out to the desert in Vegas there, and well, what's the oh my gosh, what's our desert out there? Anyway, when you're out there, we have the wind chill factor here in Pennsylvania, and you're driving along, the desert's just completely flat, and you could, you're really hauling when you're out there, and if you stick your arm out the window of the car, it's like the heat scorch factor you have, because it is so hot out in Death Valley. It is so hot. You have your arm outside that car for it was just seconds. You got to bring your arm in, because it's just the heat of the wind as you're driving by. It's just like the wind chill here, man. I call it the heat scorch factor out in Death Valley. So.
So it's like a convection oven. You're getting heat on both sides of your arm if you stick it out.
It was just something this Eastern PA boy wasn't used to being out there.
All right. The
What's
champagne
next, Gary?
of beers leaves French producers frothing. All right, Brussels. The guardians of champagne will let no one take the name of the bubbly beverage in vain, not even a U.S. beer behemoth. For years, Miller High Life has used the champagne of beer slogan. This week, the appropriation became impossible to swallow. At the request of the trade body defending the interests of houses and growers of the northeastern French sparkling wine, Belgian customers crushed more than 2,000 cans of Miller High Life advertised as such. The Comité Champagne asked for the destruction of a shipment of 2,352 cans on the grounds that the century-old motto used by the American brewery infringes and protected designation of origin Champagne. Consignment was intercepted by the Belgian port of Antwerp in early February, a spokesperson at the Belgian Customs Administration said on Friday, and was detained from Germany. Molson Coors Beverage Company, which owns the Miller High Life brand, does not currently export to the EU, and Belgian customers declined to say who had ordered the beers. The buyer in Germany was informed and did not contest the decision, the trade organization said in a statement. Frederick Miller, a German immigrant to the U.S., founded the Miller Brewing Company in the 1850s. Miller High Life, its oldest brand, was launched as its flagship in 1903. According to the Milwaukee-based brand's website, the company started to use the champagne of bottled beers, nicknamed 3 years later. It was shortened to the Champagne of Beers in 1969. Beer has also been available in champagne-style 750 milliliter bottles during festive seasons. With its elegant clear glass bottle and crisp taste, Miller High Life has proudly worn the nickname the Champagne of Beers for almost 120 years. Molson Coors Beverage Company said in a statement to the Associated Press. No matter how popular the slogan is in the United States, it is incompatible with European Union rules, which makes clear that goods infringing a protected designation of origin can be treated as counterfeit. The 27-nation bloc has a system of protected geographical designation created to guarantee the true origin and quantity of artisanal food, wine, and spirits, and protect them from imitation. That market is worth nearly 75 billion euro. Half of its wine, according to the 2020 study by the EU's executive arm. Belgian customers said the destruction of the cans was paid for by the Comité Champagne. According to their joint statement, it was carried out with the utmost respect for environmental concerns by ensuring that the entire batch, both contents and containers, were recycled in an environmentally responsible manner.
All right. Well, that's news to Doc's heart right there.
There you go. Nice.
Now, I wonder if they would let us bring in French fries, since they're not really French, but
Well, see, most of the places over there, they'll just call them chips. So
oh, that's right. It's fish and chips.
they call them chips, and then their chips are crisps. So, yep,
Oh, so a potato chip would be a crisp,
crisp, yes.
and a French fry is a chip.
Yep. So
Gary just spent some time over in England and Ireland and Wales.
So
There you go.
yeah, you gotta learn a little bit the
going on. Yeah.
sling
Tea.
lingo there. So, and that is news of the weird.
Now, Doc, have you ever been over to Europe?
I have, yes.
And have you fished over there?
Not any. I'm trying to. I've traveled. Train pass in Europe, and you can go. You can hit a lot of countries quick. It's a great way to see Europe. I did a trip in Morocco through the Atlas Mountains, and I wish I did take my fly rod, because there are trout in the Atlas Mountains with the Sahara Desert, right there, and there was a rudimentary type of fishing going on. So that was fascinating to see. I have fly fished in Japan. My son is in Japan. We did a fly fishing trip there, and he caught a native, I believe it's pronounced Yamame, trout in Japan. So that was the goal, to catch a wild trout there, and my son did it. So that's even better. My son Joseph John. So very cool experience. Seeing how the Japanese fly fish. Which
is it different from?
It was very, very, very light line and Ankara style flies that we were using. So yeah, it was a little bit different from here. I was amazed how light. We 8x is a they go by these numbers, 1x, 2x, 3x. 8x is the lightest line, the tippet material I ever used here. And in Japan, they had this 10x material that we're using, and so you have to be really soft on your when you try to set the hook with this really super light tippet material that we were using while in Japan. but just gorgeous. That's you know, a dream is to continue to fish. You know, not only here, but in, you know, in country, you know, New Zealand or Argentina, or, you know, other countries that have that are known for fly fishing experiences.
Okay. Now it is trout season here, right? Just a few weeks ago, trout season opened in Pennsylvania. I believe so. Doc can hear me.
Yeah, the audio was cutting out there a little bit. The yeah, trout season, you know, it's the stocking season, you know, starts in April, and it goes until Labor Day, and then it has that extended season where it's a limited take, or it might be a uh, catch and release exclusively. Um, I don't know the exact details of all of that, because when I go out, my opening day is January 1st. The streams where I go, they're unstocked streams. So you're able to fish these unstocked streams year round. So, yeah, you saw some of my videos. I'm out there in the middle of winter in a snowstorm fishing for these wild trout. And it's just absolutely magical to be out there. It's just, the scenery is spectacular. And if you happen to just catch one native rookie or wild ground trout when you're out there during those moments, it's very, very cool. So when I was a kid, the opening day of trout season, it was one of the most important days of the year. I was just so excited to get out there, you know, with my dad and my brother, and hit. We go to Harvey's Creek, was our ritual here in Northeast PA, where we'd fish, and but and such beautiful memories from being out doing that. But now it's my opening day it's year round. So
Never stops.
it's not as special as it was, but it grew to this point where it's just yeah, it's 365 days where you can get out and fish for the Class A wild trout streams. And that's one of the big proponents for me, is for the Fish Commission. Please do not stock a Class A wild trout stream. What is the purpose? You got this precious, natural, unbelievable resource of these natural reproducing fish. We don't need stock trout there. You know, it's just
Right.
there's all the competition. You're bringing in the genetics from these other fish, and any stock place gets hammered with you know, these guys. You know, some guys just follow the stocking truck, and you don't need that. You can market in a way that will be much more productive for the state in the long run, by going exclusively to wild trout for the streams that can handle those fish. You know, and not all the streams can, because you need that cold, clean water, that you know, the pH and the you know, the pollution free, you know, in order to sustain these fish.
All right.
But,
Well, before we end the show here, I just want to give everyone your plugs again. The website is wildtroutman.com. The YouTube page is youtube.com/@wildtroutman. There's also a Facebook page, Wild Troutman, and we'll have all that information on the show notes, as well as your email if anyone wants to contact you about any of the youth, adult, and women's camps coming up with Trout Unlimited. Anything else you would like to plug or say before we end the show here tonight?
well, yeah, my you know, Wild Trout Man, my YouTube channel is where I try to put my. You only have so much time and energy, so right. I'm trying to put it towards my YouTube channel, and that's where, you know, I'd like to have, if anyone's interested, to, you know, my webpage is nice. It'll take you to that YouTube channel. One thing to look out for as well, just this past weekend, I was out with a film crew from Discover NEPA. So they're going to do a Wild Trout Man for their one of their premier video events on their webpage. So that was that was a fun experience in the Poconos out there with the film crew. It's one thing having Wild Trout Man having his cameras going, but when you got the outside guys and gals there with cameras coming and microphones, it's a whole other ball game. But that was really fun, and just thank you to that crew, and look forward to seeing you together.
Now, did you catch something on camera for them?
Oh boy, it did take a bit, and I went out the day before. We were scouting out different areas, and we were kind of, we had to fight for them and what worked for me. And so I went out the day before, this past Saturday, and within 20 minutes, just boom, 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 I was just catching native brookies, and I didn't fish anymore. I said okay, and I purposely went to an area of the stream where we weren't going to fish. And I just wanted to make sure that the fish were there, and it was just happening. It was just like too easy, and I was like, it was killing me not to go and fish more. But I said, okay, no, you got to hold this off till tomorrow. And then the cold front came through. It rained that night, and it just things like that. That's the whole one thing I didn't talk about is the science of fly fishing. You got this change in the weather patterns, and you got the underwater macro invertebrates that you're trying to imitate with your fly patterns, and the whole flies that you tie is the whole artistic aspect of fly fishing, and then you got your Zen experience with your casting motion. Once you get into that groove with that casting, there's so many aspects to it that it's a never-ending learning experience as well. You can never learn all there is to know about it. And that's what fascinates me as well. When you're out there doing these things. And one other note that I thought would be really nice to end with as well. I had a patient in today, and a really interesting man, and he was the one admiring my photographs, and he's going on a road trip out to Colorado, out to the Rocky Mountain National Park and Estes Park, and we're talking about the photographs, and he brought up Henry David Thoreau, and this quote, it just really struck me, and I was like, wow, I would like to use this for the podcast and in future Wild Trout Man episodes. These couple of lines from Thoreau. I'll read it for you.
Sure.
It's really a beautiful, thought-provoking statement for me to these words. Time is but the stream I go a-fishing in. I drink at it. But while I drink, I see the sandy bottom and detect how shallow it is. Its thin current slides away, but eternity remains. I love it. Just what a quality line there. Something to really think about with the beauty of nature and life in general and time.
Right. Yeah. A lot in those few lines.
Few lines. It's a life worth of material there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Simons, for joining us. Wild Trout Man. Check out the YouTube page. We'll have all the links on the show notes so people can check out your videos, which are awesome and educational. They're beautiful, and it's like taking a 60-minute vacation to all parts of the country. So look forward to watching those. And maybe we'll have you on again, in the future to discuss, other projects and whatever you're up to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I really appreciate the opportunity, Brian. Thank you for thinking of me, and Gary, thank you as well. And I really enjoyed this. This was really nice. A really nice experience.
Glad you enjoyed it. Can tell you're passionate about it. So thank you for all that you're doing as well, protecting the environment and conserving, our natural resources. We appreciate that as well.
Yep.
So, all right. That's going to be all for tonight on the Brian Lennon Show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our guest, Dr. Joseph Simons, Wild Trout Man, my co-host and producer extraordinaire, Gary McDaniel. My name is Brian Lennon, and we will see you next week.
Peace out.